Oh, Sergeant at Arms Jeff. Me and Jeff. Okay. Well, welcome to the April 22nd. Sorry, I'm really loud without this. The April 22nd North Jackson Rotary Club. I'm going to have Don come up to do our invocation, pledge, and four-way test.
If you'll bow. Thank you, O God, for the season of spring and its message of new life declared beautifully by buds and blossoms. This evidence of repetitive newness in nature, a principle, can be applied to human life in the form of beauty reborn following the wintry seasons of life. Bless our fellowship today and the gift of food provided for us. We offer our thanks to you and our appreciation for each other. Amen. If you'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the things that Rotarians think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right, do we have any visiting Rotarians today? I think we do. Start here.
I have Ashby Good here today as a visiting Rotarian.
Okay. Welcome. Any other?
I have a friend I'm staying with here today, and he stands a retired military pilot and a retired Southwest.
Oh. Welcome. Any other visiting Rotarians or guests? Do we have any guests? Or was that our guest? Okay. All right. You're back up.
We have birthdays and anniversaries that we're recognizing today. James Clay will celebrate his birthday on Saturday the 26th. We have a wedding anniversary. Rob and Joan Whitley will celebrate a wedding anniversary tomorrow the 23rd. And we have two membership anniversaries. James Clay kind of got all his stuff done in 1 week because he'll be on the 28th of April. He will be celebrating 5 years as a member of our club. And on April the 22nd, Marissa Davidson will celebrate her 12th membership anniversary in our club. So let's give everyone a round of applause. I have one brief announcement. The club will not meet next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the 5th Tuesday of the month, and the first 5th Tuesday that we'll be having a day of service. So if you come next Tuesday, the door probably will be locked, and the day of service will be held at, for those of you who are interested, the first confession is, I failed to bring the sign-up sheet we had out last week. I'll send that to Greg, who is coordinating the event this time. Next week, on the 29th, the day of service is at the Good Samaritan Center. Lunch will not be provided. You'll have lunch on your own before or after that event. So you'll be reminded. Greg will do emails reminding everyone of that. But I would encourage you, if you can come to the Good Samaritan Center, we'll probably be doing something similar, which we've helped them organize their giant clothes closet.
Is that at 1 o'clock?
That's at 12. The day of service is at 12. We're doing it at noon. So you.
Anyone forgets and comes by here?
Yeah.
We can just go over to Keeper.
Are you treating? Are you treating? Oh.
I'll be looking for
Go to Good Sam first, then go.
Yeah. That'd be the better plan. All right.
Before I introduce.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you.
All right. Susie and I are working this out on the fly. We didn't have a chance to practice today. Today, the next thing that we're doing today is we have the pleasure of recognizing one of our members as our club's newest Paul Harris Fellow. As we recognize this first-time Paul Harris Fellow, we're celebrating an important milestone for him as a member of our club. Many of you in this room will recall the celebration and recognition you received when you first became a Paul Harris Fellow. Today, in the active membership of our club, we have 52 Paul Harris Fellows. We also celebrate many more past members and family members, with who our 52 active members total 341 Paul Harris Fellows since our club was founded over 50 years ago. Gifts to the foundation from all these members and others currently total over $660,000. I'll now ask Pete Perry to come to the front and stand over here, Pete, and also ask Udiel Pineda to come stand with Pete. Udiel is serving again this year as District 6820's Paul Harris Society Committee Chair. And if you'd like to know more about the Paul Harris Society, Udiel will bend your ear on that subject. Pete, today Udiel and I are serving as representatives of the President of Rotary International and the Chair of the Rotary Foundation Trustees. The presentation of the Paul Harris Fellow recognition is the Rotary Foundation's way of expressing its appreciation for your substantial contribution to its humanitarian and educational programs. It's named for our founder, Paul Harris, a Chicago lawyer who started Rotary International with 3 business associates in 1905. Your generous contributions to the Rotary Foundation's educational and humanitarian programs represent a commitment to peace, a better life for people worldwide, most of whom you'll never meet. It's because of gifts and commitments like yours and others here that our Rotary Foundation is able to carry out an array of programs that achieve beneficial changes in our world, improve living conditions, increase food production, better education, wider availability of treatment and rehabilitation for the sick and disabled, and new channels for the flow of international understanding and brighter hopes for peace. By becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, you join a distinguished family of over 1 million Paul Harris Fellows worldwide, including the other 51 members of this club who earned the honor. Beside the others in the room today, you stand with other notable Paul Harris Fellows, such as Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, King Charles of Great Britain, Indira Gandhi, Luciano Pavarotti, and Pope John Paul II, all of whom were recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. It's now my great pleasure to ask Udiel to present to you your pin and your Paul Harris Fellow medallion. This symbolizes your esteemed status as a Paul Harris Fellow. I'll also ask Udiel to present your certificate that names you a Paul Harris Fellow, although I will say they didn't get your name right. Rotary has a problem with nicknames, so his certificate is James L. Perry, not Pete, but so if he loses it, nobody may know who it belongs to. We hope that you'll wear your Paul Harris Fellow pin with pride at all Rotary events as a symbol of your appreciation and support of the programs of the Rotary Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians, please stand and recognize our newest Paul Harris Fellow, James L. Pete Perry.
All right, and now I'm going to ask Gary Haygood if he will come up and introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Susie. So today we have Haley Fisackerly here to talk to us. He's president and CEO of Entergy Mississippi. Haley of Entergy of Mississippi, an electric utility that serves more than 459,000 customers in 45 Mississippi counties. He is responsible for the company's safe and reliable service financial performance, customer service, regulatory and public affairs, resource planning, economic development programs, and charitable contributions. A champion for workforce development, Fisackerly works with the Mississippi Economic Council and other partners to improve educational opportunities and job growth, and Entergy has committed millions of dollars toward workforce development in the Mississippi service territory. Under his leadership, the company played an integral role in securing Amazon Web Services' historic $10 billion investment in Mississippi. Fisackerly also spearheaded a partnership with C-Spire and the Mississippi Public Service Commission to help bring rural broadband services to underserved communities in the state. It's a lot of responsibility, Haley. I'm proud to call Haley my friend. We grew up in Columbus. We've been friends since first grade, and I just think the world of Haley, and not only because of what all he's accomplished and his title and everything, but just a person that he is and has stayed through all of this. So proud to have Haley with us today.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Gary. It's great to be here. Gary and I do go way back, and had some great times growing up in Columbus, Mississippi, and it's great that we've kept that friendship. And it's great to see so many friends and familiar faces here today. I haven't visited this club in quite some time. I was just reflecting. The last time I spoke to you all, you met at the St. James Episcopal Church. But thank you for this opportunity. I love speaking to our customers and community leaders and update you all about your utility. And these are really exciting times and challenging times. So what I like to do today, and please stop me, I love talk, I can talk as much as you like, but I'd love to answer questions too, so feel free to interrupt me. But I do want to kind of lay out for you kind of some of the opportunities and some of the challenges that we're facing. And we'll definitely take any questions. I want to also introduce Victoria Love. Victoria is our customer service manager for the Jackson area, and whatever I can't answer, I'll give it to her. So everywhere I go, actually I'm always asked about AWS. And everybody has opinions that what we just did is going to cause you all to have blackouts and it's going to drive your bills up. Well, I am here to tell you the complete opposite. Just like any of you, when we have the opportunity to grow, we have to plan for that growth. But I am truly excited about this opportunity because a lot of work and a lot of effort went into making this happen. Literally about, it will be eight years this month, we sat down with AWS under a shade tree here at the Fairview Inn and wrote down on a napkin an idea. Now, it took a lot of work and effort to make this come to a fruition. We had to learn a lot about their business. We had to learn about what were some of the hurdles in the way. What were the things we had to do in Mississippi to create the environment for this type of investment. Now, I will tell you right now, we weren't talking about machine learning or AI then. We were talking about very simple data centers. And to put this in perspective, the reason why we had that discussion 8 to 10 years ago was we had a challenge facing us. I know our customers demand, expect, and deserve good, reliable service, affordable, reliable service. But the thing we're facing today, and I'll share some of this, we're facing weather changes like we've never seen before. Our demand for electricity has changed. 99% of the devices in your home or business have to either be plugged in or at all times or something. We live in a world today when we have an insatiable appetite for energy. And it's changing and growing more and more. Electricity demand is on the increase. But to invest in this business without growth, it was going to impact our customers in the sense of rates. When 23% of our customers live below the national poverty level, we need to find a way to bring growth into this business, to have somebody who could help us move the needle and bring the revenues in the business to reinvest where it would not harm our customers. And that's why I'm excited today, and we'll talk more about this. But we're finally going to be able to do some things that will be transformative. What you're looking at in this picture, I want you to stop and think about what I'm about to point out. So we announced AWS last January, if you will recall, when the legislature passed the legislation. It was announced mid-January. What you're looking at is the first 4 buildings. Now, I know that looks like 8, but those are the first 4 buildings at the Canton site. This is at the Madison mega site up I-55, directly across west of the Nissan manufacturing facility. And some of you have been up there, you've seen this. So I want you to recognize, in less than a year, in the upper right-hand corner, you can barely see it, but that's the Verlilia substation that we had to build to serve this first phase. This AWS project ramps up over 3 phases, 4 buildings this year, 4 buildings next year at a site originally called the Costas property. Yeah, we should have changed that Ridgeway, I know, but his name stuck with it. But and then back here at this site, the final 8 buildings. Each one of those buildings is around 300,000 square feet, and each building cost over $1 billion apiece. Each building cost over $1 billion apiece. And so, in less than a year, the Verlilia substation, the upper left-hand corner, we energized it last December. The first time AWS ever had a utility beat them to a service. They were blown away. They were embarrassed. And that's what they needed. They needed to come somewhere where they had a supportive environment where they could move fast. And what has happened and what will happen is transformative change for all of our stakeholders, for our customers, for our communities, and for our employees. And we'll talk more about that. But I wanted you to get a perspective of how big of a project this really is. So first, real quick, just to remind you, we've been in this business just over 100 years, since 1923. And when we were founded, we started acquiring municipalities. One of the very first ones we acquired was Jackson in 1923, Greenville, and also Columbus, Mississippi. We don't serve that part of the state anymore. But in 1956, the legislature had to pass an act that started to create the certificated areas, and that's where the franchises were established and the areas for every utility that operates in the state and grants their certificate area. But our presence in the Jackson metropolitan area, you'll see we have about 2,300 employees in the state. About almost half of those are in the Jackson area. Now, what's not shown there, Grand Gulf has about 700 employees, and then the rest of the employees are spread out throughout the state. Not including franchise fees, we pay about $190 million in state taxes, and you add franchise fees, there's another $20 million plus there that we pay there. A lot of people don't think about our economic impact, but just in the metropolitan area, we have a lot of presence in there. Well, Rob here knows he's done a lot of the work on our facilities, but after Katrina, this is not something a lot of people know about, but after Katrina, Entergy recognized that we had a lot of our operations in the New Orleans area that was not conducive for business continuity. And so I'll never forget those days. Haley Barbour was governor, and a lot of you may not realize, but we had to move our headquarters out of New Orleans for 9 months and put it in the old WorldCom facility out in Clinton. And that's another story I have to tell another day. But the whole time, Haley Barbour put the push on us to try to move Entergy's headquarters to Jackson. And I'm going to tell you, he got pretty close. And he had a way about his charm. Our board of directors had to meet here constantly, and he would entertain them at the governor's mansion, and he was really putting the push on. We did return to New Orleans as the company needed to, but a lot of our operations migrated here. So in addition to Entergy Mississippi, we also have out on Watkins Drive there off of 220, you're still in the city of Jackson, there's a campus there. We have our transmission headquarters for the Entergy Corporation, not just Entergy Mississippi. That building right there is the Echelon building. That is the nuclear headquarters for Entergy that operates our 5 nuclear power plants in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. We have a data center there. Just in those woods there is a major training center called the Powerhouse that is also our incident command center during major events. where we control and respond to major storms or incidents that we're dealing with, plus other facilities throughout the area that help us serve our customers. We respond to a lot of storms. I'll talk about this, and I'm going to tie more into where I'm really excited about what this growth has allowed for, but we are really focused on improving reliability. And we're making investments, and these are just some of the investments we have done just here in the Jackson area. This doesn't get into Madison or area, but later this year, we'll be making a major announcement because of the growth coming in and because of the revenue that's going to be able to allow us to reinvest. A major investment in modernizing and improving our electrical distribution system to better serve our customers. And we're talking about state-of-the-art opportunities to deliver you the best service we can, and you'll be hearing more about that. But here's the real part that, I mentioned Katrina, and I have all types of data. Weather is changing, and it's impacting our business. Jackson, this area right here, has been hammered the last 3 years. We're seeing a major shift in weather. June 23, we were hit in 18 days by 13 different storm events. 3 of those thunderstorms packed winds of 80 miles per hour. That is greater than a Category 1 hurricane. But we're seeing a shift in weather patterns. You saw last Weather Channel reported that the American Meteorological Society was talking about how Tornado Alley has moved more south. We're already dealing with hurricane risk. Now you add that to it. 2023, we had a major drought. You've heard about that. Over 12.5 million trees impacting 80,000 acres. And the Forestry Commission told us then, you're going to be dealing with this issue for the next 4 years. And Ashby, you and I have gotten a couple of emails about this around Jackson, but we spend a lot of money trimming our right-of-ways. But when you come into these old neighborhoods, which are beautiful with their trees, and they grow up in their yards, we can't touch those trees. And they come crashing down, and they're just destroying it. And so you add the drought to this, it's really exacerbated the problem. And a new risk we're dealing with, we're seeing strange trends. We're dealing with a lot of wet right now, but then we get into summers, and we're dealing with 2-month drought periods that are now adding, when these dead trees fall and hit our lines, we're creating wildfire risks. And so we're having to put protocols and training into our workforce to deal with these new risks. So the challenges continue, but we continue to address those, but we have to do a lot to inform the public around these risks and what we're trying to do to address them. But let me just show you the numbers right here. This is what the storms have done to us just over the last 3 years. You can see the amount of lines down in the 23, which was a major storm year when the major storms hit us in the June period, which were greater than Katrina alone when you look at the total number of customers impacted. But these are line miles that had to be repaired or replaced, transformers replaced, and poles. What's kind of concerning to me, if you look at 25, that is just 3 months. And so it is really impacted. And what this is telling us, and what we're learning in the opportunity now, is an opportunity with this growth that's coming to us because of AWS. Is this going to give us the opportunities to take those revenues and invest and build to new standards? The standards that we were using in the past don't work today. We are now, when a line gets knocked down and we replace them, we're building them to new standards, which were now used to be our transmission grid, but now to 155 mile per hour wind efforts. And so this is going to be a big focus. We're going to be looking at more undergrounding where that makes sense. A lot of new neighborhoods in Madison, Rankin, and other areas, developers are doing that, and that's great. We hope to see more of that. But there'll be a hybrid approach around how we start to look at in that. The amazing thing, though, is what the technology is doing. And AI is here. We're deploying new sensors and devices on the grid that have self-healing networks. You'll notice some strange devices we're putting on poles all throughout the service areas. And we've always been able to reroute power when a storm happens. So a tree may fall in your neighborhood and knocks out your block. Well, we could dispatch crews in the past and go, and they would have what we called air brakes, and they'd get out and they'd open up a couple of circuits, and it would isolate that area and get customers back on, except for that one street or block or area that's out. And that would take a few hours or so. Then technology got better, and at our new control center, they could, once a crew verified it, they could do it all there. And that got it down to maybe minutes or an hour or two. Today, because of artificial intelligence and self-healing networks, something that used to take hours, within minutes, it will sense where the device is at fault, where the fault occurred, whether a limb fell on a tree or pole got down. And within minutes, it will calculate the distance, where the next switches are, open, close switches, and reroute power and get customers back on. If you ever follow our outage app and you'll see number swings like that, that's what happens. We'll have a circuit go out, 1,000 customers out within minutes or seconds. It is calculated, closed circuits, restored 800 customers, and 200 are still out, and the crews get out there to work on those efforts. That's the amazing thing, and where the investments will allow us to go forward. So let's talk about Amazon Web Services. So you all are familiar with it. You've heard about it. What was announced was a $10 billion Capital X program. As I told you in the phase in, there are 16 buildings at over $1 billion apiece, so you can do the math there. I don't know why they do this, but everywhere they go, they under-promise and over-deliver. The investments they'll make in this is closer to $20 billion that they will make. The 1,000 direct jobs that they will employ, it was announced that it was around 66,000. The average salary is actually be north of 80,000 on this. 1,000 high-tech jobs, 2,700 indirect jobs. Now, if you've been out to those sites, there are thousands of construction workers out there. And I've negotiated a lot of deals on economic development projects over my career with Entergy. This is a different animal. They came in, I've never negotiated contracts this way, and I can't tell you all the details, but they do it in a way not to harm where they're going. They're paying their freight. They work hard to identify local contractors and vendors to partner with. They did bring in a construction company they used in the past, and I'll just say this, they've been more pleased with the Mississippi contractors they brought in, and more of those buildings and projects are being awarded to more Mississippi companies. So they really work hard to make a positive impact in the area, and we're seeing that happen. The tax revenues are going to be significant. Based on the $10 billion number, we heard the estimates, and I know those are just roughly estimates, based on the $10 billion was $80 million a year in ad valorem taxes to Madison County. Half of that goes to the school district. So talking about a transformative impact on students and schools and the community, this is something real will be great to see happen. It's definitely one of the largest customers in the Entergy system. It allows us to diversify our industry. As I told you, at Entergy Mississippi, we really needed something to allow us to grow. We have been somewhat stagnant. Our sister companies in Louisiana and Texas have been seeing 8-10% compounded industrial growth. We have been stagnant, and without that growth, it limits our ability to invest in the business to better serve all our customers. Having a large customer like this coming in is going to give us the opportunity to invest and help us do it in a way where we have minimal impact on our customers' rates going forward. They had a big focus on renewables or sustainability. So we will be building about 650 megawatts of solar facilities around the state. They had already come in and contracted. You all seen there are many renewable projects throughout the state. And the way these projects work, utilities definitely can build some that we use to serve our needs. But most of the players that you're seeing right now in Mississippi are solar developers who build projects. And as I don't know if you all are aware, but Entergy in 2013 joined a competitive wholesale market called MISO, the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. And not to confuse you, but our generation has to compete in this market every day. So your energy that you bid is coming from a competitive market. So at 6 o'clock this morning in the Woodlands, Texas, our team bidded into that market tomorrow how much load we need, and here are the power plants that we have available and their cost to operate, except for the nuclear plants. Those are base load units that run 24 hours, 7 days a week. You cannot dispatch those. You got to let them run, and that's where they get their economic benefits. But all the other load following type, your gas units and stuff, are dispatched in there. And so that has been one thing that's had a huge impact in helping stabilize our rates going forward. But these power developers are coming in and selling into that market, and they are at a take rate. So in the summer, when we get to 95 degrees and the markets are high, they're doing well. But right now, you know, the market is probably low. They're probably not even covering their costs. They're just putting it on the grid. There's something called a virtual purchase power agreement, a VPPA. And these developers will contract with somebody like a Google, a Meta, or Amazon who has a sustainability goal. And that what they're doing is guaranteeing their price in the market. So if the market's high, they're parking money, but if it's low, they're covering the cost. And that's how they're meeting their sustainability goals. The units we're paying, they are paying the full freight of that and going forward and allowing it. But it was, if we did not have the renewables, they were not coming here. And that's one of the big components we're seeing a lot of times when we talk to these large companies. They have these goals. And so to be able to compete, you got to have that in your offering. How do we make this happen? So we had to move fast. When the opportunity came to us, they have contracts. So AWS is a provider of data storage and AI, generative AI, to other customers, other major companies like Entergy, Coca-Cola, you know it. Players like Meta and Google are building AI facilities for their own use. AWS is the largest in the market, and that's because they are a provider of this. They do it for themselves too, but they provide the platforms for hundreds of companies around the world. And so they have contracts they're trying to meet. They're trying to get delivery. And they said for us to be able to come in here, they had to be able to move and phase these 16 buildings in over 3 years. Well, this is where this new world that we live in today doesn't quite meet up with the regulatory and permitting and design processes. We had to work with the governor, the state legislature, the Mississippi Public Service Commission. If we're going to deliver on this opportunity, how do we move quickly? The other thing is how we contracted. We had to buy equipment we've never bought before. 150 MVA transformers, which I don't know if one would fit in this room, and is probably half the height of this building. They're massive transformers. They're made in Brazil. And they take, at the time, now it's longer, but then 56 weeks lead. They entered into reimbursement agreements in June of 23 before they even had a deal with us or the state of Mississippi guaranteeing that, because they needed these first buildings this June of 25. And we had to work to speed up the regulatory process. And so we took what would have been a 5 to 6 year process and condensed it down into 3 years to allow us to move that. And this is Roger Wayner. He is the director and now the vice president of economic development for AWS. This is the gentleman we sat under the shade tree, the Fairview Inn, and mapped out an idea. And he will tell you right there, they found in Mississippi a know-how and do-how type of environment. And we found a way to partner with them to remove risk. And if you think about it, that's what it's going to have to take today. To win economic development and win business project, it's about speed to market. Thomas Friedman, the Wall Street Journal author of many books, wrote a book not too long ago called Thanks for Being Late. I think it was something like that. But he's talking about what we're seeing, how this digital age. And in there, he talked about Moore's Law. You know, the processor is going to double its capacity every 2 years. I was in a meeting 3 weeks ago in Seattle with AWS on some of our talks. And one of their experts, the person overseeing their generative AI program, was telling them, if you're familiar with Moore's Law, that was the capacity doubled twice every 2 years. They're now at 10 to the 26 potential exponential. They are blowing that out the door. We are only mining for AI purposes 5% of the available data in the market right now. So no matter what you're hearing in the doubts, we are just starting to scratch the surface here. But what Thomas Friedman pointed to, that the world was going to start to move so fast that the regulatory processes are not going to match up. And we've got to figure out a way to address that to be able to deliver on this opportunity and growth. So these are exciting times. It's going to be transformative. My assurance to you is this is going to be something that's going to allow us to improve service. The revenues we're coming to this will allow us to reinvest in this business. And more importantly, we're going to be able to do it in a way to keep our rates stable. This is our rates over the last 10 plus years. We've always been competitive. We had a little bump up last year. That was after we saw a reduction, and we had a flowing back some fuel cost savings. About 50 cents to every dollar you pay us goes to pay the fuel bill. We don't profit off of that. And one of the decreases rolled off last year, and it went back to the normal price. Gas prices are rising again because with all this growth in the United States, there's a mass dash to build more gas units, and we're not seeing much nuclear built. Anyway, exciting times. I know I've thrown a lot at you, and I'm about out of time, but I'll take a question or two. Yes, sir.
The renewable capacity that you're developing, are you going to add other capacity also?
Yeah, so we announced, and back on this picture you'll see up in the top left-hand corner, we operate a plant right now in Greenville, Mississippi, and here's one of the real opportunities with this deal. We were scheduled to retire this plant, the Gerald Andrews plant in Greenville, in 2028. And we had plans to build it, to bring a new one in, but we didn't know when. Because of AWS, we're now able to build that plant unit. So we broke ground this past summer. That plant is under construction. You've probably been reading the paper. There's plans to build another facility up in Madison County. We're going through the process right now. We're building 5 different solar facilities around the state, 2 that we own and 3 are PPAs. But those particular projects, those are AWS covering those needs. The other ones are coming to benefit all of our customers. And they're much more efficient. That plant we're retiring at Gerald Andrews runs at a heat rate around 12 to 14,000 heat rate. The plant we will build is around 6,000 heat rate. So it's a huge improvement in technology.
What about all the tariffs everybody's talking about?
Yeah.
What is the cost structure of Entergy, Mississippi?
Well, it's a big concern. A lot of components that we buy come from all over the world, or the parts that go to make them. Now, the early part of the deal, we have EPC contracts locked into place that give us protections on that. But any new deal going forward, a lot of the transformers we get today come from around the world. Parts, the turbines for these power plants we build are coming from Japan. A lot of components. So it's a real concern, but also it concerns me because how it impacts our customers. A lot of those that. So we need some stability there. There's a little chaos in that. We're seeing price increases significantly already, and that's something we have to deal with. You look right here, we buy a lot of concrete and steel for these components, and you can see the percentage increase in those costs of goods right there. One more question I think I can do. Somebody was, yes, sir.
Customer service question about repairs that you make. A power line from a pole to the house that you replace. Called him, he sent out some guy in a pickup truck and screwed it up. And my question is, do you not have people working for Entergy employees that make repairs for this kind of situation? Or do you farm it out?
We use both. We use both. We have a lot of what I call partners. There are contractors like B&B and Irby and stuff. But Victoria will get with you. We want to make sure we check your particular issue. But we use a mixture of that. I think one of the opportunities with this growth, we'll be onboarding a lot more employees in the future going forward, though. Was there another hand? Did you have one, Pete? Oh, there was.
What about nuclear plants?
So 2 weeks ago, we are looking at it hard. We had an early site permit at Grand Gulf to build another unit there back in 2007. I was on the project team there, and those things didn't pan out. That permit expires in 27. So we made a filing with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the Mississippi Public Service Commission seeking request and approval to extend that license for another 20 years. We're in negotiations now with some other partners on a possible feed study, what we call a pre-feed study, that starts to look at the various different technologies and what we can look at there. So yes, a lot of activity around nuclear is something we're studying and looking at very closely. But you're probably still a decade away from another unit there, so that's where the challenge is. Thank you so much. These are exciting times. I appreciate you being with you today.
With that, I will close our meeting with our club motto. Service above self, one profits most, who serves best. Thank you.